Today's presentation is on some prerequisites from Algebra 1 that we'll need to be able to continue with what we're doing in geometry. And those three prerequisites are factoring, simplifying fractions, and you use both of those to do the final one, which is comparing proportions or fractions, because a fraction is a proportion. Okay, so factoring. So factoring has three steps. The first is you got to determine a single factor from a list of factors. Then you divide to make into one branch of a tree, and then you keep doing that until all the factors are prime. So if, for example, I'm to factor 16, then it looks like this. You'll see the first factor I took was 2, so that it's 2 times 8 is 16, and then 2 is already a prime number. So then 8 I factor into 2 times 4, and again 2 is a prime number, so I'm left with 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. So I know that the factors of 16 are 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. With 24, again I just factor, and I know the factors of 24 are 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. 27, for example, will factor into 3 times 9, which factors into 3 times 3, so 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. And finally 36, which factors into 2 times 18 and 2 times 9, and then 3 times 3. So here are three examples of factoring. The next skill that we'll need to know is how to simplify fractions. And again, there are three steps. The first is to factor both the numerator and the denominator of a given fraction. Then I rewrite it as those factors, and then I find common factors and cross those out. And then finally I multiply whatever's left over. So let's do an example. Let's look at 16/24. So step 1 is to factor both the numerator and the denominator, so I can do that here. There's 16 and 24. Step 2 is to rewrite those terms with showing all the factors. So I just say 16/24 equals, since 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, I'm just rewriting them. Then I find common factors. So I look and I say, hey, there's a 2 on top and there's a 2 on bottom, so I'm going to cross both of those out. Another 2 on top, another 2 on bottom, and a final 2 on top and a 2 on bottom, and there's nothing else that I can cross out. There's nothing that's a common factor on both the numerator and the denominator, on the top and the bottom. And so I go to step 3 and multiply them out. In this case, there is nothing else besides 2 and 3, so I just write it as 2/3, or 2/3. So the answer is that 16/24 can be simplified as 2/3. The final step is how to compare proportions or fractions, since fractions are just a type of proportion. And so the first thing we do is simplify both fractions, and then when we simplify it, we'll see that they're either the same or different. And we'll go through some examples to see what that looks like. So if I was asked, does 16/24 equal 27/36? Well, the first thing I do is I simplify both fractions. So I can rewrite that as does, if I factor out 16 and factor out 24, does that thing equal, I can factor out 27 and factor out 36. So I'm just in the process of simplifying both fractions. So now I just cross out the common things, and I'm left with 2/3 on the left, and on the right I'm left with 3 on the top and 2 times 2 on the bottom, so that's 3/4, 3/4. And does 2/3 equal 3/4? No it doesn't. So does 16/24 equal 27/36? No. Now let's do another one where we're going to compare some different fractions. So does 16/24 equal 18/27? Same process, just going to factor the terms. I'm going to cross out what's left over, and so all the 2's cross out on the left, and there are 2 sets of 3's that cross out on the right. And does 2/3 equal 2/3? Yes, it does. So does 16/24 equal 18/27? And the answer is yes, it does. Finally, we have to know how to find the missing value in proportions. So the first thing we have to do is simplify a fraction, then cross multiply. So if, for example, we were asked to find x in this equation, 16/24 equals x/6. So the first thing we need to do is to simplify the fraction. So if we factor 16, we find that it is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If we factor 24, we find that it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. We cross out, it says equals x over 6. We cross out the extras, and we're left with the equation of find x if 2 over 3 equals x over 6. So now we cross multiply. So we find that 2 times 6 equals 3 times x, or 12 equals 3x. We divide both sides by 3 to isolate our variable, and we're left with 4 equals x, or x equals 4 is our answer.